Hey my friend, if you've ever wanted to take a simple tab piece for ukulele and turn it into a chord melody piece that sounds more interesting and more fun, then I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this video.
I have here, Oh Susanna, from the website that I just sent you. And we have the music notation here, and we have the tab here. And then you can also see up top, we have C, G7, F. We have the chord names written on the top there. So that's really important. That's what we're going to be using to create the chord melody. So first of all, I'm going to play through the song just so we all are on the same page about how it should sound. And then we'll get started with figuring out how to make a chord melody. So here we go. All right, so that is what it sounds like just with the melody. When you are choosing a song, let's say you want to choose a different song than Oh Susanna, pick one, at least in the beginning, that is really easy, that only has 2 or 3 or 4 chords that you're familiar with. That's going to make things easier. And then practice it on its own until you feel comfortable. Then you take a look at the music, and then you can do this in your head, or you can do this, actually do this physically. You can highlight where the chords are. So I'm going to highlight here and go all the way down so that I'm including the tab here. And then I'm going to do that with every chord. And now I'm going to do that with each chord here. Here, 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 and here. All right, so I've now highlighted all the chords. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to look and see what's happening in the melody where all the chords are. So in this first one here, we have 0 on the E string. So then we would think about the chord C, play the chord C, and see if already that open string is in the chord. So the open E string is already part of the chord C. So we can deduce that this is going to sound good if we play the chord C at the same time as we would play that just single note. So now let's put that together and see. So, okay, so that sounded nice. It worked together well. All right. So then from there, you can either just remember, okay, at the chord C where I've highlighted, I'm going to just play the chord C, the whole chord or part of the chord or whatever you want really, but I think it's easiest to just play the whole chord. And then, or you can also write in the numbers. Well, I could do this, but you could write in the 3 here and then a 0 here and a 0 here, just to make it super clear to you that, okay, there I'm going to play the C chord. Again, you can just look at the chord here if you want, but you can also write it down. All right, so moving on, then I'm going to go over to the G7. And then I see here this 2, the 2 on the C string. So if I was going to play the G7 chord, is that note in the G7 chord? 2 on the C string. So yes, it is. So now let's play the G7 chord where we would just play that 2. I'm going to start right at the beginning. So and then, so we do that with each chord now. And just for time's sake, I already have gone through this and I know, okay, C, there's a 0. This actually here is the exact same as what we just did. So except for this part. So here is the same as this. So we know it's all the same. So now going down to F, once again, it's first fret. Okay. And then down here this is the only place where we have a different melody note within this chord. So the melody note is the 3rd fret of the E string. And that's not, generally not how we play a C chord. But actually, if you think about it, this note is actually a G. So it is actually in the melody and in the chord. So what you could do there is you could just play a C chord because you're going to be hearing this note. Or you can also play that 3rd fret of the E string at the same time as you would play the C chord. So with the C chord, you'd be playing the 3rd fret of the A string. And then you could also just add in the 3rd fret of the E string and play a C chord like this. It sounds different, but it's actually pretty similar because we're just taking out the E note and adding in another G. So it's G, C, G, C. So let's play through. The rest of the chords are the same as we talked about before. The melody notes are within the chord. So now let's play through this piece using the chords in place of where you would put the melody. I could go, I played the 3 there. All right. Now, sometimes when there was, like, let's say in this last part here, this G7, you can choose if you want to play like the full chord here and here. So just playing that last line. You could do that, or you could go. It's up to you. There's a few nice things about this method. Number 1 is that you get to choose how difficult or how easy you want it to be. You could just say, okay, I just want to play 1 chord at the beginning and 1 chord at the end. Or you can say, I want to play all of the chords. It's up to you how you want to, the difficulty level that you want it to be at. The other nice thing about this method is that often we can find simple melody tabs like this, but we can't find the chord melody. So you can make up your own. It's just more accessible. So sometimes you're going to get in the melody a melody note that it might be within the chord, but it's higher up the neck, and then you're not going to be able to reach it. Like in some pieces, there's a G7, but the melody note is a 5. So it's like really a big stretch. So in that case, you can just choose, okay, I'm not going to play that chord in that moment. Or you can play that high note and play around with it and see if you can find one other note that works well with that. But that's a little bit more advanced. You kind of have to hear and see what sounds good. But if there's a situation where the melody note, it's not easy to play at the same time as the chord, then you can just skip adding that chord in that moment. So why don't we look at one more example just to solidify this. So I have Für Elise here, which I've been working on kind of for fun. Yeah, and the more you work with tab and the more you work with learning the melody tabs like we've been doing this month, the more you will familiarize yourself with tab and feel comfortable with it. And then this whole process will be even easier. So I'm going to go through this tab. Let me play it through just the melody first. And then we can go through this process again. So now let's go through it like we did before. So here, this E7, this is one of those cases where, okay, the E7 is up here. How are you gonna play this at the same time? So I just wouldn't play the E7 in this moment, because especially at the beginning of this piece, this part is very like well known, and you know, people recognize that. So we don't need to add in a chord right there. So okay, now we're coming up to this A minor. So there's an open on the A string, and if we know the A minor, it's already an open A string there. So now we have the E7 again, the 2 on the second fret of the A, that's already in the E7 chord. So we can play that really well. A minor. Now here's a situation where we have a 3, and that's not generally part of an A minor chord. But if we were to add that note into the A minor chord, so here's the A minor chord, and then we add in that 3, it's quite achievable, and it sounds nice. So we can play the A minor with the 3. So in this case, I would probably write that down on the tab lines here. I would write open, open, and then 2, just to make it really clear. So let's play through that first line again with all those chords. So nice, right? Again. Again. A minor. So there we go. Now moving on to the next part. Okay, again, we have a 7 note, and how are we supposed to play a C chord? So we can actually just play a C chord, but it's not a C chord. It's like C with a 7 instead of a 3. So just try things out and see if they sound good. Sometimes, like if it was this, I wouldn't add the C chord in there. Sounds nice, so I would just write in open, open, open on these lines, and then carry on. Okay, yeah, here we go. Here's that G7 with the 5th in the melody, so it's like really difficult. So I would probably just play the melody note there, or I could see, okay, what other notes are in that chord? There's the open G string. Maybe I could play that at the same time. Kind of sounds nice. So you could add that if you wanted to, or you can just play the melody note. Okay, and then again with this A minor and the 3. And then E7 again. And then looking at the rest of it, it's pretty much just a repeat of what we've just done. So that is how I would approach that piece.